So you're the great Sarko, eh, Mr. Edwards?
You see why I could not tell you before. Believe me, I wish to, if only because your interest was so flattering.
You know, he'll catch up with you someday, Mr. Edwards.
Captain McNeil? Not as long as I can prove that he killed Count Montresero.
By the way, was that just a sort of happy coincidence for you, or was it?
Not quite. I had done some business with the Count, which had turned out rather badly. Oh, he was a pure Nazi agent, without doubt. In any event, I was in difficulties with the fellow, and I persuaded him that he could secure some very valuable information if he would appear in New York as Sarko, which he was unwise enough to do.
And then you tipped off Captain McNeil that Sarko was in town. You're a pretty clever boy, aren't you, Mr. Edwards?
Thank you, Mr. Henderson, thank you. And now may I suggest that we return to my little flat?
We?
Under the circumstances, Mr. Henderson, I believe it would be safer for both of us. Do you like your drink, Mr. Henderson?
Oh, it's very good, thanks. Mr. Edwards, I do wish you'd put that gun away.
Oh, yes, the gun. Mr. Henderson, I've been trying to think of a way out of this dilemma all evening. I would have liked to spare you this last little deception.
What little deception?
I'm going to have to kill you.
Oh.
I am sincerely sorry. You've been a most pleasant companion, but knowing as much about me as you do...
Then may I finish my drink, please?
Oh, but certainly. And now, if you'll excuse me for a moment, my eye drops are in my coat in the hall. Oh, by the way, it's useless to try to escape, Mr. Henderson. This is the only way out, and the windows are barred with steel shutters.
Thank you for the information. Edwards! Edwards! Dead. Captain McNeil.
I take it that someone has just liquidated our friend Sarko, or Edmund, as you prefer.
So it would seem.
Did you see it happen?
No. Did you have much trouble finding your way here?
None whatsoever, Mr. Henderson. I'm afraid I have a little confession.
Well, you don't need to.
But I do. You remember the matter of the information on the piece of paper slipped under the hat band? The thing in your picture that I disagreed with?
I remember.
I apologize. It's a highly practical device. Highly practical.
Well, perhaps it wasn't made clear enough in the picture that the paper was rolled up into a little hard ball. I suppose it hurt your head when you put your hat on.
It did. And I found the address of this place when I removed it. You'd make a fine detective, Mr. Henderson. By the way, how much have you known?
You know, I'm kind of surprised myself. Quite a lot, as a matter of fact.
You knew about the body I showed you?
Oh, I was pretty sure it wasn't Sarko, a drug addict who takes the precaution of carrying aspirin for his headaches, would certainly carry his favorite drug, too. I used that in a picture once myself. Don't you remember the Blue Canary?
So you did now, so you did. I should have remembered.
And I suspected Edwards because of the eye drops. There was nothing the matter with his eyes. His particular brand of drug works on any mucous membrane, including the eyes.
Mr. Henderson, you're all right. And just what are your immediate plans?
Well, I'd kind of like to get out of here. Well, what about the money and the photograph?
Don't let it worry you. The money and the photograph safe.
I kind of thought so. And I suppose we can safely leave to the regular police force the question of who killed Sarko.
I think we can.
If I knew who, I'd sort of like to thank him. He did save my life, you know.
And if he knew you, I'm sure he'd want to thank you as well, because, in a way, you also saved his life.
Well, that's about all there is to the story.
Pretty exciting stuff. Be good material for one of your pictures, I'd think, Mr. Henderson.
Yeah, sure it would, sure. For that dumb studio of mine, I called a big meeting just before I left New York, and I told this story, changing a few names and places, of course. And what happened?
I
don't know, Frank. It's a good story, but I don't know.
What's the matter? I think it would make a swell picture.
Public would never go for it, Frank. It's too crazy. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I wouldn't buy it. You're entirely right, LG. Don't make sense, Frank. A thing like that couldn't happen.
Couldn't happen. Look, I'm telling you that
Too arty, entirely too arty. Wouldn't gross a dime.
And by the way, Frank, I wanted to talk to you about the new release. Where have you been?
Me?
Yeah, the last time we saw you, you beat it out of the projection room to see some cop, and nobody's heard a word from you for 2 weeks. Where you been?
Me? Oh, I've been around.
And so closes Sneak Preview, starring Joseph Cotten, tonight's tale of Suspense. Joseph Cotten, star of the Lockheed America Ceiling Unlimited, appeared by courtesy of David O. Selznick, and will soon be seen in the all-star Selznick production, Since You Went Away.
This is Joseph Cotten. It's a great pleasure to join forces with this really excellent company whose business and pleasure it is each week to keep you in suspense. I know you'll want to be listening next week, as I will, when Sonny Tufts will be your star.
Suspense is produced and directed by William Spear. Next Thursday, same time, you will hear Sonny Tufts in Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wine. Made in California for enjoyment throughout the world.